like to me, podcasting has been a very closed off feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I want the most is to actually communicate with the people consuming my content. So, other than some people telling me I should quit my job and I'm terrible at it, the actual ability to have conversations with people listening to content has been incredible.
And do you see that there's more like the nature of the engagement that you're seeing on YouTube? Is that something that's worthwhile in terms of comments, or is it just a mix of trolls?
So here's what I'll say: like 1 out of every 10 is going to be something absolutely terrible, where they're going to tell me like to shave my dumb looking mustache, or like how am I going to prison or something like that, where the other 9 are like really useful things where I'm actually talking to people about the topic, right? Like, hey, I noticed you said this about Caesar in 49 BC, but what about this in 55 as we're kind of on our way there. So like, I'm actually like talking to people about what I'm creating. And like, that's been a closed loop for me for years. I don't know if that's something you've experienced maybe with your vertical farming stuff or what.
No, I mean, totally. That's the thing. Like as a podcaster, when you're first getting started, you're starving for any sort of engagement. And that's why in the beginning, I was trying everything, like everything from like the guerrilla marketing of like making shirts for my podcast and going to Podcast Movement and handing them out to people and saying like, being a walking billboard for the show. But then I started everything from like Facebook groups and just tried all these different community channels and just really looking for ways. And a newsletter, obviously you have to have something to communicate to your folks. You're trying to find all these places that's not on like all the rented land, like all the socials. And, obviously having that direct communication with your listeners is great, but you have to actively like nurture that. And you have to say, hey, one of the things that I've been thinking about recently is polling my audience, because I've been reading Tom's book and I'm just like, this is really inspiring. Like, why do you listen? How long you've been listening? Does the episode need to be longer or shorter? What makes you stop listening? And some of these answers to these questions you may not want to hear. Yeah. But if you're serious about growing your show and even maybe possibly reformatting it, you have to listen and you have to find those super fans that have stuck around with you and ask them those tough questions, because, you're not going to have one kind of podcast listener. You could have a couple of different varieties, but you should really, really know what those are. And I think most podcasters, probably 99% of them, like are not going to do that work because they don't want to do the work of surveying the audience and figuring out what's working, what's not.
Right. So we are wearing a different wardrobe than just a few minutes ago. If you noticed that, I think Harry had a Yankees hat on last time.
Yes.
I had a hat on. I didn't have my hair done, and I have a button up on today. So we're in very different swag. So
we jump timelines.
We jump timelines, man. This is like what is that movie? Where Leo DiCaprio's kind of jumping all over the place. Inception. So it's kind of like that. So my power went out, and we have a generator in the garage. We have the whole house hook up, and I didn't want to like go drag the generator and like hook it up to the house if it was only going to be out a few hours, and ended up being out 8. Where I live, guys, you may not know this, and it's the middle of nowhere in the woods, so we don't even have cell service. So when the internet goes out, everything goes out. So poor Harry was just like, was probably on the other side, like, the hell just happened? Like, what did I say? Where did he go? So he was nice enough to be willing to jump on with here for a few minutes with us and just kind of wrap up our conversation today about podcasting. And it's been a really great conversation up to this point.